Hi, this is Vivek here. We will cover today the diagnostics part of the volunteer training. Um, so, diagnostics, as you know, is one of the four kinds of modules that we have, four types of modules. Diagnostic modules are used in the first class only in the of the session to understand where the student stands in terms of their knowledge of the math curriculum. So the objective for the diagnostics is to determine where the student stands in terms of the module that they should start with. And the way we want to determine the right module is by finding out exactly how much the student knows, and the next one would be the module that they don't know. So that's how we want to determine, what that module is. And within the module, there are several packets. So ideally, we would also like to find out which packet is the one that the student is comfortable with, and the next packet after that he's not comfortable or she's not comfortable with. So that's how we determine. Of course, when we're doing the diagnostics, it's totally okay to start with the first packet of the module once you determine the module. So why do we do the diagnostics? The reason we do the diagnostics is we want to make sure that the kids start the program with confidence. If they start with what they know already and they build upon that, then their confidence is increased. If they start with something that is difficult, then they're already lost the confidence, in the program or in math. And the other thing is we do the diagnostic. It's just to understand where they are. It's not a test. It is not any kind of a judgment that we're trying to figure out, oh, why is the student here or there? Uh, and same way, just make sure, if the parents ask, is my child above average, or how did they do in the test? You just let them know it's not a test. Uh, and just a reminder that the diagnostics, whatever you do, they do not go home with the child. They remain with the session lead. So what's the do's and don'ts of the diagnostics? The goal is to determine what level the child is, as we said, not to teach the child. So you're not trying to teach them or help them provide the answers to the problems. You're constantly observing when the child is confident and when the child starts to struggle. So he's struggling or he's slowing down in answering or he's unable to answer. That's when that's where that's the area in which, or that's the level where the student is. And when you see the child struggling, just stop and check. Stop and check orally. Stop and check in a, if you're given the written test, the written diagnostic sheets, then you start to check orally after that. And if you're checking orally and they have difficulty, then you can switch to written and see if they can do in writing. Sometimes kids can do better in writing than speaking orally. And as we said, you want to determine the packet in the module if you want to do it, but that's not a requirement. So let's see. So this is the diagnostics summary sheet, where the whole plan for the diagnostics kept together. Before we go there, let me take you to the uh, to this math website. And if you go to math sheets here, you will see all the modules for the math are right here. And as we learned before, these are the two diagnostics modules, right? So the first one is what we use most of the time. So let's click on it. This is the diagnostics. This is the summary sheet. That's what I was showing you. So let's click on the summary sheet. And the second sheet here is the summary sheet. Let's rotate it a little bit. So this is where the summary sheet is, right? So these are all the modules that we want to assess which module the student is, is the right module for him or her. Now for each module, these are these different columns here. The problems or the questions that you can ask, or you can make up your own questions to test a given module. And this is a suggestion. You can test them orally. And of course, if you want to test them by giving them written sheets, you can do that too. This particular column is where the packets or the written sheets are with the same problems that you can ask orally if you want to give them the written sheets, and we will talk about that more. This one is a suggestion. This column gives you suggestion depending on the grade of the student where to start the diagnostics. It is only an optimization, and we will go through this also a little bit more. These are the four columns, or if you have five children, you can create a fifth column right here. And the idea is, you write the name of the child right here, and then as you assess, you put a tick mark wherever the student has passed that particular module test, and you put a cross and you stop there if the student fails in that module, in the sense that he doesn't know that module or the content of that module. So that's basically how you judge. And we'll go through a little more complicated jumping around here and there in the later slides. All right, so let's go back to the presentation here. So this is what you see here. And as we said, the goal is to assess the module. Now, these are all the list of the modules. We saw that on the website also. These are all the list of the modules. And what is listed here is the regular modules. As we learned, there are diagnostic module, review modules, help modules. These are all the regular modules which we use in the classes. Each line, as we said, is representing one module. And this one is the module name. These are the oral or the questions that you can ask. And this particular thing is the diagnostics, and we'll go over that. And now for the grades, if the student that you're trying to assess is in kindergarten or first grade, you want to start from here and you keep going down, so to assess up to what level the student knows, and so then you know which module they need to start next. If this child is in the second grade, then you want to start from here, just to avoid, spending a lot of time in something that we think they know. However, what can happen is, as you start to kind of ask about these teens questions, maybe they're struggling and they really don't know this, then you start tracing back. So then you can start asking these questions, and if that also fails, then this, then this. And the same way you want to ask the additions also where they are. So that way you have a good understanding where the child stands, and then you decide which module to start with. Okay. And if they are in the third grade, then you would start from here. And again, the same thing, that you can have to maybe go backwards if they don't know these concepts or these particular two-digit additions or three-digit additions, etc. And the idea is you just keep going as far as the child will go. Okay, so these are some of the questions for your practice. We will skip this for now. So let's do a little deeper dive, so about the diagnostic packets, so as I was saying, so this is the page that you saw on the website, and these are all the modules. These are the same modules right here. So you can see this is corresponding one to one. This one is the diagnostic module, and this diagnostic module is right here. So if you click here, which is what is in red, that's what it is. And this one, add sub 1D, is the packet within the diagnostic module, which is actually saying right here, add sub 1D. Okay. Now this particular diagnostic module, basically it's a section that would cover all of these actual regular modules, right? So you're trying to you go to this diagnostic packet to evaluate the student for all these modules. The same way, if you go to diagnostic add sub 1D, you will evaluate all these three modules. Now this one consists of add and sub, and the same diagnostic module will also evaluate these three also. So just so you know. And in each one of these diagnostics, as we were talking about, each packet contains the same problems as it is listed here. So if you choose to do orally, then you don't have to go to these module sheets. You can just ask them orally. If you say that, oh, I really need to go to give them a return sheet, then you go print out this particular sheet, which probably has already been printed. You just have to hand over these sheets and observe the child doing these problems. Okay. So let's look at what these diagnostic sheets would look like. So this is a diagnostic add sub below 20. Now add sub below 20, if you remember, these are the three different modules that the add below 20 does. And the same way the sub also is there after this page. So if you look at it, each section here, each portion corresponds to each module, and the actual problems that I listed here in the summary sheet is also listed here, right? Sometimes we give some additional problems on the side uh, just to understand some of the variations. So like this one, if they know 7 plus what is equal to 15, so it should be 15 minus 7, right? So we do that also sometimes. Um, all right. So let's look at how would you evaluate these students, right, as we go through the diagnostics. So before we get to second and third grade, let's go back and look at these sheets right here. So let's say it's a kindergarten or first grade student, and you want to start from the beginning. As we said, you write the name and then you start to diagnose from here. So this is module add 0 to 5, 0 to 5. And for 0 to 5, 0 to 5, let me just expand this a little bit. So you want to give them combinations of higher numbers, so probably 5 plus 5, 4 plus 5, 3 plus 3, so you want to give bigger numbers and see if they can answer those questions. If they do, then that's pretty good. You can move on to the next one. So you'll probably ask here like, hey, what's 4 plus 5? What's 3 plus 3? What's 3 plus 1 or 2 plus 3 or 5 plus 5? 3 or 4 questions. And if they can answer confidently, then you start moving here. And this one is 6 to 9 to 0 to 5. So you would ask like higher numbers first, like 8 or 9s with 4 and 5s, right? So maybe what is 8 plus 4, 9 plus 4, 9 plus 5, 5 plus 9. So you want to kind of reverse them, 3 plus 9, those kinds of things. And if they can answer, then you move on to the next one. And that's how you just keep going. Okay. And when you get to these sections right here, you can still keep doing orally. And if you see someone struggling, maybe you can give them a return sheet, what I was showing you before, and then see if they can answer by writing. You can also take just a plain paper, a plain sheet of paper, and just write down these problems and see how they do. You don't even have to have a printout of the actual diagnostic packets. So this is how you keep going. And after some point, like when you start to do addition and subtraction of 2 digits, you actually need to do in return sheets, because this becomes, this obviously kids cannot answer mentally. So you would do that. And then again, for the multiplications, you again can do orally, because these are much simpler. And but then as soon as you get to more of the divisions, that are like with remainders, etc., or like 2D to 4D, multiplication, division, you want to do it with writing. So that's how you kind of start. Now let's go back and see. So these ones are simple, right? But once you get to like 2-digit additions, or trying to evaluate the second graders or the third graders, how do you do that? That's a little bit more work in there. So let's go through that. So for 2-digit, what is it that you want to test? For 2 digits, there's like ranges which are teens, like 11 to 19 to 11 to 19. So you want to ask questions like 18 plus 19, 13 plus 18, those kinds of things, to see if they can do the teens additions. The other one you want to do is adding two digits without carry, right? So 37 plus 42. So these one, if you say 7 plus 2 is 9, so they don't have any carries. Then you want to do two digits with carries to see, hey, do they also understand how to do carries? So if you give any of these numbers, they will be with carries. Now this one is a double carry because it's like 9 plus 8 is 17, 7 carry 1, and 8 plus 7 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So it's basically 1, 6, and then 7, right? So that you want to test in this way the two digit. Now for three digits, the focus is on multiple carries. So you want to try and test if they can do the carries from unit to 10 to hundreds, right? So this is an example where 8 plus 9 is 17. So 7 carry 1, 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 1 is equal to 10, so 0, and then carry 1. And then 4 plus 9 is 4 plus 5 is 9, and then carry 1 is 10, right? So that's how you want to kind of give these kinds of problems. Of course, it's all provided in these sheets. So if you look at these additions, etc., two digits, so you actually have these with carry and without carries, right? And then with this three, they're usually with carries, because that's what we want to test. And same thing with subtractions with borrows. Okay, and so that's how it basically works. All right, so let's look at this a little bit more. So that's exactly what we said, determine what's, say if you give them these problems, now you want to see, the first thing you want to see is, are they actually adding the, units place first, they're going from right to left, right? So 9 plus 8, are they doing that first? And then 7, and they're putting carry 1 right here, and then 8 plus 7 and 116, right? So, and they're writing 16, and they're writing the answers below the correct columns, right? So this is units column, the tens column, and the hundreds column, right? So they're doing this in this particular way. If they don't do it, then that's where you're trying to now figure out, do they really understand the single digit addition? So 9 plus 8, do they know the answer that it is 17? So you can verbally ask them, hey, what's 9 plus 8? If they wrote wrong answers, then you can see if they know these, and you can ask 8 plus 7, and you can make up some 8 plus 8, 6 plus 9, so you can make up few of these problems and you can ask them. If they know that, then okay, they know the single digit additions. If they don't, then you really want to determine if they just don't know a couple of problems, or they don't know like a lot of the combinations of these problems, right? If they know most of the problems except couple of them, you can actually take them to the review sheets rather than going to the regular modules. You can go to the review modules and give them a printout of 629, which covers all the numbers in one shot. You don't have to go through different packets. You just have to give one packet which covers everything 629 for practice. If you see that there are many numbers that they're struggling with, that means they really have some weakness, then you want to go back to and assign them 629 to 629 or something like that for one digit addition to get stronger in that, and then you can come back, right? So that's how you would judge them, not judge them, evaluate them. Now, if they are able to do this, then the other thing we want to understand is, can they do addition of teens? Because if you think about it, um, 9 plus 8 is 17, 7 carry 1. Are they able to do 8 plus 7 and 1, 9, right? Sorry, 15 and 1, 16. That's what we did. But you want to also double check, can they do like 14 plus 5, or 14 plus 9, 14 plus 6, or 19 plus 5. So you want to just make sure that they are able to do these things now. Okay, now for third graders, because you started from the two-digit additions, if you find this thing is their weak point, then that's what you want to evaluate. That's what we were saying when you go back, that you start from here for the third graders, but if they're struggling, you want to quickly check, hey, do they know this, or do they know these ones, right? So the additions are the sets right here, right? So So that's what you want to do. And we talked about that they're doing unit columns and then 10 columns, and are they able to do the carries? So we covered everything. And if they're not able to do carry, you want to give problems that don't have carries to see that they can do without carries. And if you know that they can do without carries, then you need to start them with 2 digits with carry. And so this is, just a more diagrammatic way to show like what we just talked. So they're struggling in this particular modules, this particular section. Then you want to kind of check if they can do these teens, and you want to check if they can do these single digits, right? So that's how you want to keep going back. And here you want to make a note to say like, okay, like put an X mark here, but maybe they can do this, so you can check them off. And if they're struggling here, you put a question mark or an X and say like, okay, start from here. And then you probably also want to check if they know subtraction or not. If they know these things, so you want to go down now. So where you find out where they are, you want to go down and see if they know the rest of the packets or not. If they know subtraction, then that's great. If they don't, then you want to put an X there too, because this will become your reference as to what modules and what packets they're going to do going forward. All right. So same thing for subtraction. You want to see that can they do the units first, the tens column next. Can they do with borrows, right? So 8 minus 3 is 5, 9 minus 2 is 7. There's no borrows here. If you look at this example here, that's 7 is less than 8, so they must borrow 1. So 17 minus 8, right? So this becomes even more important, that they know teens subtraction, right? So these kind of subtractions they know. If they don't, then you want to check a few questions. And if they don't, then you want to make sure that those are things that you will actually assign. So I think that's pretty much what it is. Again, more in a diagrammatic way. They're looking at subtraction. If they're struggling, you want to look at subtraction for teens, and then you want to do diagnostics for subtraction for units. So if you have this summary sheet, you just say, okay, this is where they're struggling. You go here and you start asking these problems. And if they're okay, and they're struggling here also, then you go back and ask these problems, right? If they're not struggling here, probably they are okay. You can check like a couple of problems right here and see that, yep, these are okay. You can just tick mark them, and you know that this is where they need to kind of start for this, right? Now, one caveat is, many times what we have seen is the kids would know addition and they would know these additions, but they may struggle in subtraction. So you want to evaluate and see how far they know the additions, how far they know the subtractions, and make a note so that when you are actually giving them the packets, you start, let's say they are struggling with subtraction, but they know these additions and they know these additions. So then you want to finish the subtraction, but then you don't want to go to this addition and have them repeat everything. You want to switch to the subtractions right here, right? So that's how you want to kind of evaluate these subtractions and additions. In the same way you would evaluate multiplications and divisions. All right, so this is for multiplications. How would they do the multiplications? Again, exactly the same thing, except we're not trying to test their additions here, because you already tested them on the additions, if they're good or not. But here again, you want to do the same thing. Are they able to multiply the individual numbers? 9 times 8, 7 times 9, 8 times 8, and 8 times 7, etc. Can they multiply individual numbers? Are they able to do the carries? Like 8 times 9 is 72, so 2 carries 7. And are they able to then do 8 times 8, 64, plus 7, 71, right? So that's how you want to see. You also want to see if they're writing it in the correct column, right? So when they're multiplying with 8, then they're starting with this unit place right here. When they start to multiply with 7, then they are starting the writing from the 7 or the tens place right here, so that when they add, the additions would be correct. So those are the types of things you want to see, and make sure that they are able to do all these pieces. If they don't, then you want to again trace back. So let's look at how would you trace back, right? So multiply 2D to 3D. If you can't do that, then you have to look at, can they do single digit multiplications, right? So you want to test them here. And if they can, of course, these ones you must have already tested in the 2D and 3D. So you don't I'm hoping that you don't have to go further, but just in case you need to, then these are the steps, right? Hey, can they do additions properly, or from 2Ds to going right back to right here, right? So that's really what you want to check for. Actually, you should also check for teens also. I skipped that one. Okay, so that's pretty much what the diagnostics is all about. Thank you.